Hello. You will notice I'm not at the piano because we're going to do something a little different today. So, as I've been talking to people after church, I've realized that there are some informational things that might be useful for us to just go over really quickly, as far as like a little bit of note reading, a little bit of ear training is what it's called when we're talking about how to recognize and reproduce pitch, just to kind of give us a real base baseline for what we're looking at, particularly when we're in the hymnal. So this one is for the visual learners. This one is going to be about looking at the notes on the page and knowing what they mean. Then we're going to do a separate one for more oral people like me that really just like to hear and reproduce things. But hopefully this will be useful to you. So I'm going to share my screen really quick here, I hope. Here we go. Okay, so this is my musical alphabet cheat sheet. And there's some terms on here that are going to be helpful, I hope. Ignore the bit about your harp starts here. Nobody has harps, but you can tell that I use this for harp. So here I am. I've got my staff. This is the music staff. You've all seen this in the hymnal. Over here on the left side, we have two squiggly marks. The one on top is called the treble clef, and the one on the bottom is called the bass clef. And really all that is a way of saying how high or low the pitch is. And we want to have names for things so that it's a little bit clearer. That's one kind of disclaimer I always like to tell people when we're new to reading music is everything on the page is to try to make the process easier, even though it may not seem like that at first to those of us who aren't used to it. But that's really the goal. So keep that in the back of your mind, treble clef, bass clef, as we look here at the musical alphabet, and it's going to become clear why that's important. So a lot of us, if you've ever taken piano, you'll look down here at the bottom, you'll see those little skipping cheater phrases, which we'll get to in a second. Most of us are familiar with those. We may or may not be familiar with the musical alphabet. And the reason this is important is because that's what's going to allow you to go from like line to space to line to space to line to space and know what note you're on quickly. So the most useful thing you can do is train yourself a little bit to say the musical alphabet forwards and backwards. For example, we have only the first 7 letters of the alphabet, so forwards is easy. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, what if the notes go down? You can tell these notes are going up. You can literally see that happening on the page. If they go down the other way, we're going backwards in the musical alphabet. So G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And if you have those two things, the musical alphabet forward, musical alphabet backwards, you're going to be able to move between notes a lot more easily, particularly with hymns. They tend to move in this sort of what we call stepwise motion. You can see it's kind of like going up a little ladder. Um, the other thing we have is these cute little phrases that help us remember the various spaces and lines in each of our clefs. So, oh, hang on a second. Wait, I jumped ahead. One more thing about the musical alphabet before we go on, is you'll see there is a C in the middle. And it is called middle C if you've ever seen it on a piano or heard of it referenced. And it's called middle C because it is literally the middle note in between what we call treble clef and bass clef. So a lot of times it's not clear because of the way we space it out in the hymnal that bass clef down here at the bottom, treble clef on the top is actually one continuous ladder of notes that go all the way bottom to top. And we split it up again. Remember, it's to make things easier. We make that space a little wider usually, just so it's easier to look at. And typically, guys, you're going to be singing in bass clef most of the time, and ladies, you're going to be singing in treble clef. And so that's where you get the kind of alto, soprano, tenor, bass situation happening. Another thing I forgot to mention is an easy thing to remember for the musical alphabet is that this first space in between the lines here of bass clef, can I highlight that? No, I can't. Okay, never mind. Is an A. And that's kind of an easy thing to keep in your mind. If you're reading in bass clef, that first space is an A. So if you can remember that, then you can figure out what the rest of them are using that musical alphabet tool. Okay, now we're ready to go down to the skips. So we call them skips because that's what they are. Because they're going, you can see from space to space to space to space, and all of the lines. And so, do a quick little comparison here. Treble clef is easy-ish because the treble clef spaces spell face. And you, again, if you did piano as a kid, you might know different, I don't know what's the opposite of an acronym. Weird sentence to remember things. Um, you might remember different ones. We're a little less, or we're a little more, I don't know, humorous now. So treble clef spaces spell face, treble clef lines. Every good burger deserves fries. And that just is really clearly the first letter of each word corresponds to the note name of the line going bottom to top. Same thing for the bass clef. All cows eat grass, timeless classic. And this is one actually one of my students taught me, which I think is hilarious. Good burritos don't fall apart for bass clef lines. Because it's true. Good burritos don't fall apart. And if you take again a little look-see here, we can see how these things, if you kind of mushed them together, would create this stepwise, like on the ladder idea, right? So, oh, I can't, I was gonna point, like you can see my, no. Okay, so we're gonna do this in slow motion. We've got the little F on the first space here, boop, there it is down there. G on the first line, boop, there it is. I should have done the E first, oh well, you know what I'm talking about. So on and so forth, all the way up. Now, again, those of you who are who've maybe seen a little bit more sheet music but don't necessarily remember all the details, you will know that there are more notes beyond the top and the bottom here, and that's true. There are. We'll get into that a little bit later, but for now, these are going to be the most useful notes to you because these are the ones we're going to see most often in our hymnal. I'm also going to link this sheet in the description so you guys can download it if you want and keep it. The color coding, I wish we did this always, but we really just do that for harp. So if it's helpful to you, yay. Okay, I'm going to stop this one and we're going to apply this to a song we know. Here we go. So here we are. We've got A Mighty Fortress. We all love A Mighty Fortress, right? And let's take a look at this second bit where it says a bulwark never faileth, right? So we are going to figure out, we're just going to be looking at the top line of notes for now. I know we had kind of dived into parts a little bit, but right now I actually think it's going to be more helpful for us to just look at the melody for a second. So we might do that a little bit differently for a few weeks here. Okie doke. So right here on this word, we are going to use what we know about treble clef. There's treble clef at the beginning. And we are going to say, okay, I see that that is on a space. So I think to myself, aha, treble clef spaces, spell face. I start at the bottom. I have F, A, C. Aha. Here is our C, letter C. And now, if you look carefully, this is actually going to just step down from space to line to space to line and then back up again. So we can use the musical alphabet to figure that out. So we know this is C. What comes before C? B, A. Now, since A is the beginning of the alphabet, we have to go loop back around to the end. G, forwards again. A. Little skip here. And we remind ourselves, ah, yes, the first space of treble clef is an F. And then I can keep going down in the musical alphabet backwards. E, D, C. And so you can hopefully see that those musical alphabet tools are going to be really helpful because not all melodies, in fact, most melodies aren't going to be skipping around a lot. So we'll talk about why those skips are useful at a later point. But for right now, just know that that musical alphabet forwards and backwards, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, D, A, is going to be probably the most useful tool right now for what we're doing. That being said, you're going to see some skips in the hymns this weekend, but that's okay. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an example of how that all works. I will again link that little cheat sheet in the description somehow so that you guys can download it if you want. And if you have questions, go ahead and ask me after church, or if you want, I don't know, requests, anything like that. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you next Sunday.